Welcome to the channel Final Slaves. Today, we journey back to 1862, to the incredible tale of two black twins deemed gifted after a series of tests left even seasoned observers baffled. Yet, it wasn't merely their ability that brought them fame. It was the impossible secret concealed behind the results. Something never meant to be documented. This story is difficult and intense, so take a breath and listen closely. Before we start, subscribe and tell me in the comments which city and country you're listening from. Your support ensures these stories are remembered, not buried. Let's begin. On the morning of September 14, 1862, in a small Massachusetts coastal fishing village called Marblehead, two black children sat facing a white doctor who had traveled nearly 40 miles from Boston just to examine them. Nathaniel Warren was the doctor's name. He was 53 years old and had dedicated his entire career to studying the human mind at Harvard Medical School. He had examined hundreds of patients. He had published papers in medical journals across America and Europe. He had witnessed things most people would never believe. But he had never seen anything like the Carter twins. The children were 8 years old. Elijah and Ruth were their names. They sat perfectly still in their wooden chairs, hands folded in their laps, their dark eyes observing the doctor with an intensity that unsettled him. They did not fidget. They did not look away. They simply watched, as if they were the ones conducting the examination. From his leather bag, Dr. Warren removed a series of cards. Each card held a different mathematical problem. He had designed these cards himself, arranging them in order of increasing difficulty. The first cards contained simple addition. The final cards held calculations most university professors would struggle to complete without pen and paper. He handed the first card to the boy, Elijah. "Tell me the answer," Dr. Warren said. Elijah glanced at the card for perhaps half a second. 23, he said. The answer was correct. Dr. Warren handed him the second card. Elijah answered before the doctor's hand had fully withdrawn. 57, correct again. They continued through the cards one after another, the problems growing more complex with each turn. Addition became subtraction. Subtraction became multiplication. Multiplication became division. Division became problems involving multiple operations and steps. Elijah answered every single one. He never paused. He never hesitated. He never made a single error. When they reached the final card, a problem Dr. Warren himself had needed nearly 3 minutes to solve when he created it, Elijah looked at the numbers for perhaps 2 seconds. 439, he said. Dr. Warren stared at the boy. He checked his answer key. He checked it again. That is correct, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Then he turned to the girl, Ruth, and removed a different set of materials from his bag. These were not mathematical problems. These were pages of text copied from books Dr. Warren had selected specifically because they would be unfamiliar to any child. One page was from a medical textbook written in Latin. Another was from a legal document filled with archaic terminology. A third was from a philosophical treatise using vocabulary far beyond any 8-year-old's expected understanding. He handed the Latin text to Ruth. "Read this," he said. Ruth looked at the page. She did not know Latin. She had never studied Latin. She had never even seen Latin text before this moment. But as she looked at the words, something happened. She began to sound them out, slowly at first, then with increasing confidence. Her pronunciation was not perfect, but it was recognizable. And more remarkably, after finishing each sentence aloud, she paused and offered a guess about its meaning based on the patterns she observed. Several of her guesses were correct. Dr. Warren sat back in his chair. His hands were trembling. In 30 years of medical practice, he had never witnessed anything like this. He had heard stories of children with extraordinary mental abilities, but had always dismissed them as exaggerations or hoaxes. This was neither. He looked at the twins' mother, a woman named Sarah Carter, who stood in the corner of the small room watching everything with an expression mixing pride with fear. "Mrs. Carter," he said, "how long have your children been able to do these things?" Sarah Carter was 31 years old. She had been born free in Massachusetts, the daughter of a black sailor and a Native American woman. She had worked as a domestic servant most of her life, cleaning houses and washing clothes for white families who paid her barely enough to survive. She had known her children were different since they were 3. That was when Elijah began counting everything he saw, adding and multiplying numbers from daily life, calculating some Sarah herself could not verify. That was when Ruth began memorizing entire books after hearing them read aloud just once, reciting passages word for word weeks or months later. Sarah had tried to hide her children's abilities. She understood, in a way no white person could fully grasp, how dangerous it was for black children to appear too intelligent in America. In 1862, the country was at war. The Civil War had begun in April of 1861, and now, 18 months later, the fighting showed no signs of ending. President Abraham Lincoln had not yet issued his Emancipation Proclamation. In the southern states, 4 million black people remained enslaved. In the northern states, free black people lived precariously, tolerated, but not accepted, free, but not equal. A black child who could read was dangerous. A black child who could outthink white adults was unthinkable. For 5 years, Sarah had kept her children's abilities secret. She had told them again and again they must never show what they could do. They must pretend to be ordinary. They must hide their gifts. But secrets have a way of escaping. 3 weeks before Dr. Warren's visit, a white merchant named Thomas Aldrich had come to Sarah's small house to deliver fabric for her sewing work. While Sarah was in the back room counting coins to pay him, the merchant noticed Elijah at the kitchen table staring at a discarded newspaper. The merchant laughed. "Can you even read that, boy?" he asked, his voice dripping with condescension. Elijah looked up. "Yes," he said. "And there is an error in the 3rd paragraph." The reporter wrote that the Union forces captured 300 Confederate soldiers at the Battle of Antietam. But if you calculate based on the numbers given earlier, the correct figure should be 347. Thomas Aldrich stared at the boy a long moment. Then he picked up the newspaper and read the 3rd paragraph himself. He did the calculations. The boy was right. The merchant left the house without another word. But within days, the story spread through Marblehead. The black widow's children could read. The black widow's children could calculate. The black widow's children had minds that seemed impossible to explain. Dr. Warren heard the story from a colleague who heard it from a patient who heard it from a neighbor. At first, he dismissed it as rumor, but something about it nagged at him. Something made him unable to let it go. And so he made the journey to Marblehead, and now he sat across from 2 children who had just demonstrated abilities challenging everything he thought he knew about the human mind. "Mrs. Carter," he said again, "I must know. How long have your children been able to do these things? And how is it possible?" Sarah Carter looked at her children. She looked at the doctor. She knew whatever she said next would change their lives forever. "They have always been this way," she said. "Since before they could walk, since before they could talk. They see things other people cannot see. They understand things other people cannot understand. I do not know why. I do not know how. I only know that it is true." Dr. Warren nodded slowly. He was already composing the letter he would write to his Harvard colleagues. He was already imagining the examinations he would conduct, the papers he would publish, the lectures he would deliver. He did not notice the fear in Sarah Carter's eyes. He did not understand he was about to make her children visible in a world that punished black people for being seen. The news of the Carter twins spread faster than Sarah had feared. Within a week of Dr. Warren's visit, 3 more doctors came to Marblehead to examine the children. Within 2 weeks, a reporter from the Boston Evening Transcript arrived, asking questions and taking notes. Within a month, the story appeared in newspapers across New England. The headlines varied in tone. The Boston Evening Transcript ran, "Remarkable Negro Children Display Unusual Mental Faculties." The article was cautiously admiring, detailing the twins' abilities while carefully avoiding any suggestion they indicated racial equality. The Springfield Republican published a different angle, "Scientific Mystery, How Can Such Minds Exist in Such Bodies?" The article treated the twins as curiosities, specimens to be studied rather than children to be admired. The Providence Journal went further. Titled, "Nature's Impossibility Made Manifest," it suggested their abilities resulted from an unknown biological anomaly, a freak occurrence proving nothing about the general capacities of the Negro race. But there were other reactions. The Liberator, an abolitionist newspaper published in Boston by William Lloyd Garrison, ran a front-page story. The headline was simple: proof of human equality. The article argued the Carter twins demonstrated what abolitionists had always claimed, that mental differences between races resulted from circumstance and education, not inherent biological inferiority. This article changed everything. William Lloyd Garrison was one of America's most famous abolitionists. He had published The Liberator since 1831, read by anti-slavery activists across the country and world. When he wrote about the Carter twins, people paid attention. Donations began arriving at Sarah Carter's small house. Letters came from strangers wanting to help. Offers of education arrived from schools and tutors willing to teach the children for free. Invitations came from churches and lecture halls wanting the twins to appear. But other things arrived, too. Threats came in the mail. Anonymous letters warned Sarah her children would be harmed if they continued attracting attention. Rocks were thrown through her windows at night. A dead cat was left on her doorstep with a note, "Know your place." The people of Marblehead, who had lived alongside Sarah for years, began treating her differently. Neighbors once friendly now crossed the street to avoid her. Customers who hired her for sewing and laundry suddenly found other seamstresses. The white families who employed her as a domestic servant let her go one by one until she had no income. Sarah understood what was happening. Her children's intelligence had upset the natural order. White people in Marblehead had tolerated a black family living among them as long as that family remained inferior, dependent, subservient. But the twins' ability suggested something white people could not accept, the possibility that black minds equaled white minds. This possibility was more threatening than any physical danger. It undermined the entire justification for slavery. It challenged the entire structure of American society. It made white people question things taught since birth. So they responded the only way they knew: they tried to destroy what they could not understand. In November 1862, Sarah Carter made a heartbreaking decision. She sent her children away. Dr. Warren had arranged for the twins to enroll at the Institute for Colored Youth in Philadelphia. Founded in 1837 by Quaker Richard Humphreys, it was one of the few institutions providing advanced education to black students. The school agreed to accept Elijah and Ruth on full scholarship, with room and board provided by a wealthy abolitionist family. Sarah could not go with them. She had no money for the journey. She had no means of supporting herself in Philadelphia. And she knew if she left Marblehead, she would lose everything: the small rented house, her few possessions, the fragile stability fought so hard to achieve. So she said goodbye on a cold November morning at Marblehead Harbor. She held them against her chest and told them things never said before. "You are special," she whispered. "Not because of what you can do with your minds. You are special because you are my children. Because you are good and kind and strong. Because you have survived in a world that did not want you to survive." She pulled back, memorizing their faces. "The world will try to use you," she said. "White people will want to parade you before audiences. They will want to study you like animals. They will want to prove their theories about race using your minds as evidence." She took their hands. "Do not let them. You are not evidence. You are not specimens. You are not proof of anything except your own existence. You are human beings. You deserve to be treated as human beings, and anyone who treats you as less does not deserve your cooperation." Elijah and Ruth boarded the ship to Philadelphia. They stood at the railing, watching their mother grow smaller until she disappeared. They did not cry. They had learned in 8 years that crying changed nothing. They simply watched and remembered. The Institute for Colored Youth was on Lombard Street in Philadelphia, in a neighborhood home to free black people for generations. The school occupied a 3-story brick building that had been a warehouse. Inside, classrooms were carved from open spaces, furnished with donated desks and chairs, lined with shelves of books collected over decades. When Elijah and Ruth arrived in December 1862, the school had about 120 students, ages 6 to 22. Most were children of free black Philadelphia families, a few were escaped slaves via the Underground Railroad. All were there for the same reason: to receive an education the white world did not want them to have. The principal was Ebenezer Bassett, 38, a graduate of Connecticut State Normal School, one of the first black Americans with a college education. He had led the institute since 1857, making it one of the finest educational institutions for black students. When Mr. Bassett first met the Carter twins, he tested them. But his tests were different. He did not care about calculations or memory tricks. He cared about understanding. He sat with the twins in his office and asked questions, not mathematical or reading questions, but questions about the world. "Why do you think there is a war happening?" he asked. Elijah and Ruth looked at each other. They had learned to communicate without speaking. A glance conveyed entire conversations. Ruth answered first. "Because people believe things that are not true," she said. "They believe some people are worth more than others. They believe skin color tells you about the content of a mind. They believe these things because it makes doing terrible things easier without feeling guilty." She paused. "The war is about slavery. But slavery is about belief. If people stopped believing black people were inferior, slavery could not exist. The war is really about what people believe." Mr. Bassett sat back. He had taught nearly a decade, encountered many intelligent students, but never heard an 8-year-old speak with such clarity on complex matters. "And you, Elijah," he asked, "what do you think?" Elijah considered carefully. "I think my sister is right," he said. "But I think there is something else. I think the war is also about money. Slave owners are rich because they don't pay for labor. If slavery ends, they lose their money, and people will do almost anything to keep money." He looked at Mr. Bassett with intense dark eyes. "I think the war will not end until one side has no money left to fight. And I think many, many people will die before that happens." Mr. Bassett nodded slowly. He understood why Dr. Warren had been astonished. These children had powerful understanding. They saw the world with clarity most adults never achieved. But he also understood something Dr. Warren had not: these children were in danger. Their intelligence made them valuable to those wanting to use them and threatening to those wanting to maintain the existing order. They would be sought after and hunted, celebrated and despised, never allowed to live in peace. Mr. Bassett decided in that moment. He would protect these children. He would educate them, prepare them for the world they would face. But he would also teach them something no one else could: how to survive. The years at the Institute were transformative. They studied mathematics with Octavius Catto, a young black man who would become a major civil rights activist in Philadelphia. They studied literature with Fannie Jackson, who would become the first black woman to lead an institution of higher education in America. They studied science, history, languages, and philosophy with among the finest black educators of their generation. But more importantly, they learned to control their gifts. Mr. Bassett understood raw intelligence without wisdom could be dangerous. He had seen bright young black people destroyed by white jealousy, their talents making them targets. Elijah and Ruth would need more than intellectual ability. They would need judgment, restraint, wisdom to know when to reveal abilities and when to hide. He taught these lessons carefully. "Your minds are like weapons," he told them one evening. "A weapon always visible invites attack. A weapon hidden can be used when the time is right." He leaned forward. "There will be moments you must show what you can do, when powerful people need to see your abilities. But there will be moments when showing brings harm. You must learn the difference." The twins listened. They had begun to understand through experience. They saw how their intelligence destroyed their mother's life. They saw white reactions to black minds exceeding their own. They practiced hiding in plain sight. They learned to give answers correct but not too correct, to display knowledge impressive but not threatening. They learned to read white reactions and adjust. It was exhausting, degrading, necessary. Meanwhile, the war continued. In January 1863, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring slaves in Confederate states free. News spread through Philadelphia's black community like wildfire. People celebrated in streets, churches held Thanksgiving. For the first time, the federal government declared slavery wrong. But celebration was tempered. The proclamation only freed slaves in rebellious states. It did not free slaves in border Union states, grant citizenship, give black people the vote, or end the war. Fighting continued through 1863 into 1864. Gettysburg, Vicksburg, Chickamauga, names synonymous with death on an unprecedented scale. Elijah followed the war obsessively. He collected newspapers, created army position maps, calculated casualty figures and supply logistics, predicted battle outcomes. His predictions were remarkably accurate. In March 1864, age 10, he wrote a letter to Colonel Robert Gould Shaw, who commanded the famous 54th Massachusetts Infantry, one of the first black Union regiments. Colonel Shaw had been killed at Fort Wagner in July 1863, but Elijah did not know. The letter was returned with a note explaining Shaw's death. But someone read it first and was impressed enough to share it. Elijah's letter contained his war analysis. He argued the Union would win only with specific strategies, focus on cutting Confederate supply lines over capturing territory, use black soldiers more extensively for numbers and motivation. He predicted the war would end in 1865 if followed. The letter reached a Boston newspaper editor who knew Shaw. The editor published it under the headline, "A Child's Wisdom on the War," noting it was written by a 10-year-old black boy at the Institute for Colored Youth. Once again, the Carter twins were in newspapers. Once again, trouble followed. In April 1864, 5 white men in expensive suits with Southern accents came to the Institute. They said they were Maryland businessmen, a border slave state, who wanted to see the remarkable Negro children. Mr. Bassett met them at the door. He did not like their look, slave catchers, men hunting escaped slaves for bondage. "The children you ask about are not escaped slaves," Mr. Bassett said. "They were born free in Massachusetts. They are here legally under my protection with this institution's full support." The leader, a tall man with a gray beard and cold eyes, smiled without warmth. "We are not suggesting otherwise. We simply wish to meet them. We have heard so much. Surely a brief visit causes no harm." Mr. Bassett stood firm. "The children are not available for visits. They are students. Their education is my responsibility. I do not believe your interest is academic." The men exchanged glances. Something passed between them, silent communication Mr. Bassett did not like. "Very well," the leader said. "Perhaps we return another time." They left. But Mr. Bassett knew they would be back. That night, he called Elijah and Ruth. "Do you know who those men were?" Ruth spoke first. "They were not businessmen. They looked at us like merchandise. They want something specific." Elijah nodded. "They lied about Maryland. One used a South Carolina phrase. I think they are from further south." Mr. Bassett trusted their perceptions. "I think they may try to take you. I believe they see you as valuable property. Children with minds like yours would be worth much to certain people, scientists wanting to study you, circus owners wanting to display you, or worse." He paused. "I am sending you somewhere safe. A community in Ohio near Oberlin. It's an abolitionist stronghold. The college admits black students. A network protects escaped slaves and free black people in danger. You will be safe there." The twins did not argue. They understood danger. Their minds, their greatest asset, had become a liability in a world not ready for black intelligence. 2 days later, they boarded a train west. They would not return to Philadelphia for many years. They would not see Mr. Bassett again. The men in expensive suits would not stop looking. The journey to Ohio took 4 days. They traveled with a woman named Harriet Tubman, not the famous conductor, but a different woman using the name, a common practice in the Freedom Network for cover and confusion. She was 40, with strong hands and watchful eyes. She spoke little, watched, listened, ensured no one followed. They traveled by train when safe, wagon when not. They stayed in houses with signs indicating safe harbor. They ate meals from strangers asking no questions. On the 3rd night in a Pennsylvania farmhouse, Harriet sat with them. "You are being hunted," she said. "Not just those men. Others have heard about your abilities. People wanting to use you." She looked with eyes that had seen too much. "Some want to study you. They think your minds teach about race and intelligence. They want to cut you open, examine brains, measure skulls, weigh organs. They do not see children, they see specimens." Ruth felt a chill. She knew people looked at her differently. She didn't know some wanted dissection. "Others want to display you," Harriet continued. "Put you on stages, charge money to see Negro children who can think. Dress you fine, teach tricks, parade you before audiences like trained animals. Make you famous, themselves rich. Elijah clenched his fists. He knew his mind was different, he didn't know it could be bought and sold. And some, Harriet said, voice dropping, want to destroy you. They believe your existence threatens everything they hold dear. If people see what you can do, if people believe black minds equal white minds, the entire system collapses. They would rather see you dead than proved wrong. She leaned forward, taking their hands. This is the world you live in. This is the world you must survive. I'm sorry. I wish I could say it gets better, but I cannot promise. All I promise is people will help you. People who believe in freedom, who will fight for you when you cannot fight for yourselves. She released their hands. Tomorrow we reach Ohio. You will be safe. But remember what I told you. Never forget you are hunted. Never stop running. The twins did not sleep. They lay staring at the ceiling, thinking of Harriet's words, their mother alone in Marblehead, Mr. Bassett protecting then sending them away, the men wanting to take them, the long, uncertain, dangerous future. They were 10. They had lived through more than most in a lifetime. They understood their lives would never be easy, their gifts never fully appreciated, their minds always seen as anomalies, exceptions, impossibilities. But they understood something else, they had each other. Born together, grown together, developed abilities together. Their minds worked differently together. They communicated without words, solved problems by dividing perspectives, protected each other uniquely. This was their secret, not intelligence, memory, calculation, reading, understanding. Their secret was their bond. As long as they had that, they would survive. Part 2. Oberlin, Ohio, was unlike any place Elijah and Ruth had seen. Founded in 1833 by Presbyterian ministers believing racial equality a Christian duty, Oberlin welcomed black residents, students, and escaped slaves. Its college was first in America to regularly admit black students and women alongside white men. By 1864, Oberlin was the most racially integrated U.S. community. The twins were placed with the Langstons. John Mercer Langston was a black lawyer educated at Oberlin, a prominent Ohio black leader. His wife Caroline ran a small school for black children at home. They had 3 children and welcomed Elijah and Ruth as family. For the first time since leaving Marblehead, the twins felt something close to safety. But safety, they would learn, was always temporary. The first months focused on education. They enrolled in Oberlin College's preparatory department, where students as young as 10 began studies for college admission. The curriculum was rigorous, designed to match Harvard or Yale. For most, challenging; for Elijah and Ruth, not enough. Within weeks, teachers recognized what Dr. Warren and Mr. Bassett had: these children were extraordinary. They absorbed information impossibly fast, made connections between subjects teachers never considered, asked questions revealing understanding far beyond their years. Professor Mary Jane Patterson, head of preparatory department, called them after a month. Professor Patterson was remarkable, born free in North Carolina, moved to Ohio as a child. In 1862, she became the first black American woman to earn a bachelor's degree, graduating Oberlin with honors. She understood what it meant to be black with an exceptional mind in a world refusing black excellence. She studied them sharply. Your teachers reported your progress, she said. They are astonished. They've never encountered students like you. They don't know what to do. The twins waited quietly. I've seen your examination results. You mastered material for students twice your age in weeks. At this pace, you exhaust our curriculum within a year or 2. She leaned forward, serious. This creates a problem, not for you, for us. We lack resources to educate minds like yours. We lack teachers challenging you sufficiently, textbooks advanced enough to hold your interest. Ruth spoke. What do you suggest we do? Professor Patterson smiled slightly. I suggest we stop treating you as students. I suggest we start treating you as colleagues. An unusual, perhaps unprecedented arrangement, but Professor Patterson implemented it. Beginning their second month, Elijah and Ruth were no longer simply students. They attended classes when they chose, but also had college library access to pursue any subject. They attended college lectures, conducted research, shared findings with faculty. Elijah gravitated to mathematics and military strategy. He read about Napoleon's campaigns, ancient tactics, logistics. He developed theories on optimal troop movements professors found remarkable. Ruth gravitated to languages and history. She taught herself Greek and Hebrew besides Latin. She read primary sources in original languages, discovering translation nuances. She developed interest in slavery's history, tracing roots through ancient civilizations. Together, they saw the world in ways most never would. But even in Oberlin, surrounded by supporters, they could not escape reality. The men from Philadelphia did not give up. In March 1865, 3 months before war's end, a stranger arrived in Oberlin asking questions. A white man in his 40s, well-dressed, polished, suggesting education and wealth. He claimed to be Dr. Samuel Morton, a Philadelphia scientist researching human intelligence, wanting to meet exceptional Negro children for academic purposes. He was not who he claimed. The real Dr. Samuel Morton was a Philadelphia physician who spent decades collecting and measuring human skulls to prove white people had larger brains than black people. His work justified slavery and discrimination. He died in 1851, 14 years before this stranger arrived. John Mercer Langston recognized deception. As a lawyer, he researched claimants and quickly discovered Samuel Morton was dead. He confronted the stranger at his hotel. "I don't know who you are," Langston said, "but I know who you are not. Dr. Morton died 14 years ago. I know what you want. You want the Carter children. You will not have them." The stranger's polished manner disappeared. His face twisted ugly. "Those children are valuable. More than you imagine. People will pay much for minds like theirs. Others will pay much to ensure minds like theirs are never seen." He stepped closer, menacing whisper. "You cannot protect them forever. Sooner or later, they leave Oberlin. Sooner or later, they are vulnerable. When that happens, we will be waiting." He walked away, leaving Langston with cold fear. That night, Langston told the twins everything, not softening truth. They deserved to know. Ruth listened calmly. "Who are these people? Who pays them?" Langston shook his head. "I don't know certainly, but I suspect. Wealthy Southern men made fortunes from slavery. The war goes badly. They know they will lose, slavery will end. They look for ways to prove black people remain inferior without chains." He paused carefully. "Children like you threaten that belief. If you exist, if you can do what you do, everything they believe is wrong. Some want to study you to find explanation preserving worldview. Others want to destroy you before you prove them wrong." Elijah, silent, spoke steadily despite fear. "What can we do?" Langston looked with respect. This 11-year-old asked not how to hide, but how to fight. "For now, continue studies," Langston said. "Knowledge is power. The more you know, the more powerful you become. But be careful. Don't draw unnecessary attention. Be ready to move at a moment's notice if danger becomes too great." The twins nodded. They understood. They had been running since 8. They would continue as long as necessary. But someday, running would not be enough. Someday, they would have to stand and fight. The Civil War ended April 9, 1865, when General Robert E. Lee surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, Virginia. News reached Oberlin 3 days later. Church bells rang, people poured into streets celebrating, weeping, embracing. After 4 years, over 600,000 deaths, war was over. The Union preserved, slavery destroyed. But celebration was short-lived. 5 days after Lee's surrender, April 14, 1865, President Lincoln was assassinated at Ford's Theater, Washington, D.C. He died next morning. Lincoln's death cast a shadow. The men who guided through darkest hour, issued Emancipation Proclamation, promised to bind wounds, was gone. In his place, Andrew Johnson of Tennessee, commitment to black equality uncertain. Ruth understood immediately what Lincoln's death meant. At 11, her understanding of history and politics grew sophisticated. She studied power patterns, saw how progress reversed, freedom taken, powerful maintained dominance. "Lincoln was the only thing protecting us," she told Elijah. "Without him, everything changes." Elijah thought similarly. Military strategy taught winning war was beginning, holding peace often harder. The people who hunted us before will be stronger now. They will have government allies, time to rebuild power. They will not forget us. He was right. Post-war Reconstruction was time of hope and horror. Congress passed amendments abolishing slavery, granting black citizenship, guaranteeing voting rights regardless of race. Black men elected to Congress, black communities built schools, churches. Briefly, true equality seemed possible. But violence against black people increased dramatically. White supremacist organizations like Ku Klux Klan emerged across South, terrorizing black families, murdering leaders. Laws restricted black freedom in everything but name. Reconstruction's promise was betrayed almost immediately. Elijah and Ruth watched with growing concern. Teenagers now, minds sharper, understanding deeper than most adults. They understood fight for black equality far from over. It had barely begun. In 1868, age 14, they made a decision shaping their lives, to use gifts in service of their people. Decision came after long conversation with John Mercer Langston, now like a father. Langston appointed first dean of Howard University Law Department in Washington, D.C. He prepared to move family, wanted twins with him. Howard University founded 1867 to provide higher education for black Americans, named after General Oliver Otis Howard, who led Freedmen's Bureau, committed to helping formerly enslaved transition to freedom. University small, underfunded, but represented commitment to black intellectual development at highest level. Langston believed twins belonged at Howard, not as students, but teachers. You learned everything Oberlin can teach, he said. You read more than most professors. Your mind's ready for work that matters. Howard needs people like you. Ruth hesitated. Only 14, how teach adults twice her age? Langston smiled, anticipated objection. You won't teach traditionally. Work as researchers. Help faculty with projects. Write papers published under other names. Contributions hidden but real. He leaned forward, serious. This is how power works, not through public recognition, but quiet influence. You shape thinkers who shape world. Plant seeds growing forests. No one will know seeds came from you. Twins understood. Not fame or glory, purpose. They agreed. But before leaving Oberlin, news changed everything. Their mother was dying. Sarah Carter never recovered from losing children. After they left Marblehead, she descended into poverty, despair. White community shunned her, few black families helped limitedly. She developed consumption, tuberculosis. By word reached Oberlin, sick for months. Doctors said weeks to live, perhaps less. Twins faced impossible choice. Going to Marblehead exposed them to hunters. Returning to Massachusetts put them in danger. But mother dying, alone, sacrificed everything. Could they let her die without last goodbye? They did not hesitate. They boarded train east. Journey to Marblehead took 3 days. Traveled under assumed names, plain clothes, looking ordinary. Avoided white passenger eye contact, spoke little, made invisible. But invisibility has limits. Second day, through Pennsylvania, Elijah noticed a man watching from across car. White, middle-aged, weathered outdoor face, farmer/laborer clothes, but eyes too sharp, calculating. Not what he appeared. Elijah leaned to Ruth, whispered without moving lips, "We are being watched." Man in brown coat by window. Ruth already noticed, tracked since last station. "I know," she whispered back. Another at front. Working together. Elijah's mind raced possibilities. Get off next station. Delay confrontation. Hide in crowd. No crowd rural stretch. Fight. 2 teenagers against armed grown men. Train slowing, Ruth said. Station in approximately 3 minutes. When doors open, we run. Elijah nodded imperceptibly. Not good plan, only plan. Next 3 minutes felt like hours. Train decelerated, landscape forest to farmland to town outskirts. Brown coatman stood casually, moved toward twins. Frontman same. Closing in. Train stopped. Doors opened. Elijah and Ruth exploded motion. Fast runners, young bodies lean, strong. Burst through door, platform, weaving boarding passengers. Behind, shouts surprise, anger as men tried follow. Twins did not look back. Ran through station, past ticket counter, Main Street. No idea where to go. Simply ran. A hand grabbed Ruth's arm. She spun, ready fight, scream. Hand belonged to black woman, about 60, gray hair, kind eyes, domestic servant dress, grip surprisingly strong. This way, woman said. Quickly, before they see you. No time question. Twins followed down alley, gate, small yard behind house. Woman opened cellar door, gestured descend. Climbed into darkness. Door closed above. Footsteps away. Long time, silence. Then, hours feeling like minutes, cellar door opened. Old woman climbed down with lantern. Safe for now, she said. Men searched station, didn't find you. Boarded another train east. Think you still running? Ruth found voice. Who are you? How know to help us? Woman smiled. Patience. Work for family owning house. Knew to help because told watch for 2 children needing protection. Message last week from man named Langston. Said you might pass through. Said keep you safe. Twins looked each other. Even from Ohio, Langston protecting, anticipated danger, arranged help. Not alone. Spent 2 days hiding in Patience's cellar. She brought food, water, news. Men still in area, asking, offering rewards for 2 black children traveling together. But told something else, mother still alive. Sarah Carter defied predictions. Clinging to life, refusing die until seeing children once more. Knew they coming, felt somehow motherly inexplicable feeling. 3rd day, Patience arranged wagon final miles to Marblehead. Traveled night, hidden under blankets. Driver black men, no questions, no conversation. Arrived mother's house just before dawn. House smaller than Ruth remembered. Paint peeling, windows cracked, garden once carefully kept overgrown with weeds. But door open, candle burning window. Went inside. Sarah Carter lay narrow bed corner main room. Thin, terribly thin. Skin stretched tight over prominent bones. Hair gray. Eyes closed. But hearing children's footsteps, eyes opened. Despite illness, poverty, years separation, she smiled. You came, she whispered. I knew you would. Twins knelt beside bed. Took her hands, one each side, first time 6 years, family again. Sarah lived 3 more days. Those days, told children everything never able before, her childhood, parents, family history generations, father they never knew, sailor died sea before born, night they born, holding them, knowing immediately special. Told what wanted them do with lives. Do not hide, she said, voice weak but clear. I told you hide as children, pretend ordinary. Trying protect you, but wrong. Gripped hand surprising strength. Cannot hide what you are. Cannot pretend less. World always try make smaller, put in boxes, tell what cannot do. Must not listen. Must stand tall. Must let them see what you are. Must show what black people become when given chance. Shuddering breath. I will not see it. Will not see what you become, but know magnificent. No change world, no somewhere somehow watching. Died 4th day morning, children holding hands. Buried small cemetery outskirts Marblehead. Grave unmarked. No minister, ceremony, only twins and undertaker agreed help. But standing grave, Ruth spoke words mother wanted here. We will not hide, Ruth said. We will not pretend. We will show world what you always knew we could be. We will make you proud. Elijah added promise. We will fight, not weapons, violence, but minds. Prove everything they believe about us wrong. Tear down lies with truth. Never, ever give up. Stood silence long moment. Turned, walked away grave, Marblehead, life known as children. 14 years old. Orphans. Ready change world. Twins arrived Washington, D.C., autumn 1868. Nation's capital city contradictions, government great buildings alongside desperate poverty neighborhoods, white politicians debated black future marble chambers while black families struggled blocks away. Freedom declared, equality distant dream. Howard University hill overlooking city. Campus small, few buildings surrounded muddy fields, but lacking physical grandeur, made up ambition. Began work immediately. Officially enrolled students, but formality. Reality worked alongside faculty, contributing research shaping black education future. Elijah focused mathematics, economics, developing theories black communities build wealth despite systemic discrimination. Ruth focused history, law, documenting slavery crimes, building legal arguments reparations, equal rights. Contributions hidden as Langston promised. Papers published under professor names. Speeches delivered others. Twins remained shadows, influence invisible but powerful. But shadows hide so much. 1871, age 17, Ruth wrote legal brief arguing federal protection black voting rights. Brief technically authored Howard professor, arguments entirely Ruth's. Brief used Republican Congress members support enforcement acts, laws combat Ku Klux Klan, protect black voters South. Laws passed, Klan temporarily suppressed, black men voted record numbers 1872 elections. But someone noticed. Southern newspaper journalist investigated legal arguments origins, traced brief Howard, discovered credited professor not actually wrote, dug deeper, found twins. Article appeared December 1872, Negro Children Control Congress. Sensationalized, exaggerated, racist assumptions, but core true revelation, two black teenagers secretly shaping federal policy years. Minds produced work-changing laws, influencing elections. Intelligence penetrated highest government levels. Reaction immediate, violent. Congress launched investigation. Howard threatened federal funding loss. Death threats flooded country. Men attempted burn building twins lived. But something else happened, black newspapers country celebrated twins heroes. Churches read names pulpits. Parents told children Elijah and Ruth Carter, proof black minds equal any earth. Twins became symbols black achievement given chance. Spent entire lives hiding. Now, finally, stepped light. January 1873, Elijah and Ruth Carter gave first public speech Metropolitan African Methodist Episcopal Church, Washington, D.C. church packed, aisles standing, window sills sitting, crowded outside hearing open doors. Twins walked front sanctuary, looked see black faces waiting here. Ruth spoke first. They told us we could not think. Told minds inferior. Told slavery justified because less human. Told because wanted believe, believing made doing evil easier. Paused words settle. We proof wrong. Not special, not different other black people. Proof because given chance, chance learn, develop minds, become always capable becoming. Gestured crowd. Every person room same capacity. Every black child America same potential. Only difference opportunity. That fight for, not just freedom, equality law, but opportunity. Chance every black child discover mind can do. Elijah spoke next. Mother told before died, not hide. Let world see what are. World always try make smaller, must not listen. Looked faces hope, pain, determination. Fought battle entire lives. Continue fighting long live, but cannot fight alone. Every one soldier war. Every one mind sharpened, voice raised, contribution made. Raised fist. Want a silent. Want invisible. Want accept place bottom society. But not silent. Not invisible. Not accept told accept. Voice rose fill church. We Elijah and Ruth Carter. Black. Gifted. Just beginning. Church erupted cheers. People wept openly. Strangers embraced. Moment sacred space, equality dream felt possible. Twins stood together, holding hands as mother held deathbed. Come far small Massachusetts fishing village. Through fear, flight, loss, years hiding, years work, moments standing before people, claiming place history. But story not over. just beginning. Following decades triumph tragedy. Elijah Carter became influential generation economist. Developed wealth creation theories oppressed communities not fully appreciated until century after death. Advised black business owners, trained accountants, established investment funds helped black families build generational wealth despite obstacles. Ruth Carter became legal scholar work laid groundwork civil rights arguments eventually reaching Supreme Court. Trained dozens black lawyers. Wrote briefs challenged segregation, discrimination, disenfranchisement. Never argued case court, women not permitted, but words spoken others courtrooms country. Together founded schools, established newspapers, built organizations continue work long after gone. But faced defeats. Reconstruction ended 1877, ended federal commitment protecting black rights. Ku Klux Klan resurged. Jim Crow laws spread south. Progress made systematically dismantled. Men hunted twins never stopped hunting. Over years, assassination attempts, arson, threats loved ones. Learned live danger constant companion. Personal losses. John Mercer Langston died 1897, void never filled. Friends, colleagues passed. Community nurtured grew smaller yearly. But never stopped fighting. 1910, twins 56, gave final public speech together inaugural conference National Association for Advancement Colored People. NAACP founded year earlier, building work people like Carter's doing decades. Ruth frail now, health damaged years relentless work. Elijah beside, hair white, eyes still sharp. Lived long see great changes, Ruth said, voice weaker but clear. Born, slavery law land. Die, leave generation known nothing freedom. Progress. Paused catch breath. But lived long see easily progress reversed, quickly freedom taken, persistent hatred. Looked young audience faces carry struggle forward. Do not discouraged. Do not despair. Arc history long, bends toward justice. May not live see victory. We not live see victory. But victory come. Must come because truth stronger lies, love stronger hate. Elijah spoke last. Mother told children must show world black people become given chance. Tried. Succeeded some ways, failed others. But never stopped trying. Took sister's hand. Now work passes you. Continue started. Build built. Never give up. Never surrender. Never accept world as when could much better. Looked audience final time. We Elijah and Ruth Carter. Told minds impossible. Proved nothing impossible. Pass lesson now forever. Nothing impossible. Ruth died 3 months later, spring 1910. Elijah followed autumn same year. Buried side Washington, D.C. cemetery not far Howard campus. Headstone simple, 2 minds, 1 purpose. Freedom. Carter twins story faded popular memory decades followed. History books focused other figures, moments. Contributions absorbed larger civil rights narrative, individual names forgotten. But legacy lived. Every black child received education, every black lawyer argued justice, every black economist built wealth community, every black family rose poverty through education, hard work, all beneficiaries Carter twins started. Somewhere Howard archives, boxes papers never fully examined, letters, documents bearing handwriting 2 children should not able write wrote. Evidence minds should not existed according beliefs time. Twins story proves something never needed proving, intelligence not determined race, potential not limited circumstance, human mind, given chance develop, achieve seems impossible. Proves 2 children born poverty, hunted hatred, orphaned injustice, still change world. Proves world, despite evidence contrary, can change. Not quickly, easily, without cost, but can. Lesson Elijah and Ruth Carter. Gift us. Secret carried. Impossible secret could not explained. Secret hope. Secret resilience. Secret love. Secret, unlike twins, never die. Lives every person refuses accept limits, every child dares dream, every mind reaches greater world says possible. Carter twins lit flame 1862. Flame still burns today, keeps burning long people willing tend, long people willing believe.